International Women's Day is an important day because it's letting the world stop to signal that we're not equal yet. Women are still disproportionately disadvantaged when it comes to healthcare, education, corporate environment. So we need a day where we can all agree to that and decide what the solutions are to make that change.
Today marks a call for action to accelerate gender parity by taking groundbreaking actions that truly drive the greatest change for women.
More organizations need to create quotas and ensure that women are at the table. Women are in those high sensitive areas. Women who have also shown capacity that they can.
The time is finally here. It is time for us to dig deep, just as we heard from the keynote address, issues, problems, challenges that the ladies or the women face at the workplace, wherever. But of course, we have people from different walks of life who will be doing this for us today. But to take us through as a moderator, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together as I'd like to welcome gender specialist from IFC, Kaidi Eddie Obiako, will be taking us through. So please put your hands together for her.
Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity for me to come before you to lead this panel discussion. Hopefully we have a very engaging time. And I'm looking forward to hearing the opinions from the panelists as we already started the process this morning. So, just to introduce myself, my name is Kaidi Eddie Obiako. I work as a private sector gender specialist with the IFC. So basically, today the conversation is going to focus on how do we close gender gaps in the private sector. We've had a series of conversations in the past, and what we want to do this time is to go a bit deeper to say what are the critical challenges that we have with closing gender gaps, and also try to hone in on something that the keynote speaker mentioned, which is around the advent of technology and how technology is playing a very important role in or driving innovation in our industries today. And what does that mean for gender gaps? How does it have, what kind of implication does it have on gender? To start off, I think first of all, I would like to just give a bit of background to set a context for the conversations that the panel is going to be having. In 2018, the World Economic Forum published the Gender Gap Report. And again, as the keynote speaker mentioned, we have Nigeria ranks about 133 out of 149. Now, what were the indicators that were used? First of all, our literacy rate for female is about 41.4% compared to men, which is 61.3%. What does that tell us? It tells us that more women or more females are actually either dropping out of school or not as empowered in terms of education as men are. The second indicator that was raised was in terms of labor force participation, and here we have women at 59.9%, just call it 60%, while women are at 50.3%. Again, there is an imbalance in terms of how women are represented in labor force, how many women participate compared to men. And then, of course, one of the important things that we have is R&D, which is research and development. It tells us that only 27% of women are actually in occupation in roles that focus on development. And when we talk about development for an economy, we're looking at your sciences that spur innovation. Now, even within the even within the workforce, what we see is that when women are in the workforce, one of the things that dissuades, or one of the challenges that they face, is that they earn less salaries. At least, or the global average is about 17% less than what their male counterparts earn. Now, if you think that, I mean, I think at first glance you might think that the gender gaps, the labor force participation between men and women isn't so bad. But I think what you want to do is, when you go deeper, oh, thank you. So when you go deeper, what you end up seeing is that in terms of the spread, where men and women are, like where men and women play within the corporate value chain, you see that women are only 5% of CEOs in Africa are women. About 95 are men. Same goes for representation of women on boards, which is just about 14% on average. And in terms of senior management, you have only 23%. Now, maybe this isn't scary enough, so I think we'll just go a bit deeper to look at the representation across sectors. Now, what we see here is, this was done by McKinsey, a study done by McKinsey, Women Africa Rising. And what it showed was that across the sector, there is gross imbalance between men and women representation in leadership. You have the same, I mean, on average, you have about 15% representation across board for women on boards across industries. And the same with, the same you can see with women in senior leadership. But I think one of the things that I need to underline here is the fact that in your heavy industry and your energy, which are very high productive sectors, these are the sectors that in Nigeria we're saying, if we want to build our economy and if we want to grow our economy, these are where we need to focus on. We have a significant lower representation of women there. The question is, what does it mean for us? Especially given the fact that we have linked, representation of women in leadership in some of these sectors as a critical factor for increasing more women within the pipeline, creating more opportunities and providing more incentives for women to join or enter into the formal environment within these sectors. Now, we've looked at gender imbalance, and we've seen that there is a gross imbalance. We've looked at gender representation or inequality, and we've seen that across board there is an imbalance. Now, one of the things that I know is last year we spoke a lot about, or previous years we've been speaking about gender imbalance. We come here, we talk about it, we debate, we sign, we argue, and then we eat our rice and go. But what we want to do this year is to say what exactly is happening, and what is the urgency, what is the need, what is the urgency for us to start thinking about how to close these gaps. Now, let me tell you something else. In 2018, the WEF report, that's the World Economic Forum report on gender gaps, one of the things that it highlighted is that there is a new trend of the use of technology. For many of the practitioners that work in various sectors, you would begin to see that there is an impact technology has on how sectors are driving, sort of technologies driving innovation in various sectors. So what are we saying? First of all, we see that in your traditional retail, where you're buying and selling, now everybody knows about Jumia. Why? Because there is technology. Technology is driving innovation there. Technology is the platform that a company like Jumia is using to get retailers, to connect retailers to buyers. Same thing we see in transportation. Everybody uses Uber, or maybe not everybody, but I use Uber a lot. Uber is a platform, technology platform that is used, connects riders with or customers with drivers, and this is on a using technology on a traditional transportation in the transportation sector. And the same thing we've seen across board, agri-tech, in the agriculture business, you see farm crowdy using technology to link for agribusinesses with potential investors. So what are we saying? We're saying that there is now a need, there is now innovation, technology is playing a very key role in innovation going forward. It is going to determine how many of our normal sectors as we know it is going to be driven. So the question is, so two things come out of this actually. The first is that there is a new set of skills that is going to be needed in the coming years. Skills on how to develop, how to use technology, how to create the technology that will be driving innovation. And so it's a bit disappointing when you go back and you see, you know, what two key things. I'm sorry, this isn't working. But if you go back and you look at the numbers, especially in terms of research and development, and you look at labor participation, and you look at labor force participation of women, especially women in these technology-driven sectors, you start to think, what will be the role? What will be? I mean, what will be the role of technology going forward? How will this technology impact women? How can we start to build the skills that can close these gender gaps where women traditionally are not very well represented in these technology-driven sectors? Women, to a large extent, may not have the skills that would enable them to work and thrive in these sectors. And so, ladies and gentlemen, to respond to questions around how do we start looking at these issues and how do we tackle these issues, I have a very, very amazing panel today. I was able to engage with some of them early, well, actually all of them early this morning, and I'm very happy to bring them on stage to share their thoughts on and try to respond to some of these questions that are raised. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce my panel. So please, as I call them up, please just give them a round of applause. Otherwise, no rice for anyone today. Thank you. So first on the panel, I would like to introduce Sarah Maka Ubagwe. That's the Country Manager, Nigeria One campaign. I would also like to introduce Dr. Ola Orekunrin, Managing Director, Flying Doctors Nigeria. I would like to also introduce Olukemi Awodein, Managing Director, Investment Banking, Chapel Hill Denhams. Fourth, I would like to introduce Lady Sandra Agwebo, the founder, Lady Mechanic Initiative, and the first Lady Mechanic in Nigeria. And of course, we will not leave out the men. So I would like to introduce Debola Williams, co-founder, CEO, Red Media Africa. And then I would also like to introduce, finally, last but not the least, Olushola Amusan, Philanthropies Lead, Microsoft Nigeria. Thank you so much. So, we're going to take about 30 minutes to respond to some of the questions that I have for them, and then hopefully we have the next 10 minutes to open up, the floor for anyone that wants to add, ask a question, or make a comment or contribution. So my first question is, and that would be to our One campaign. Would be, are there segregations on the type of jobs you think men and women can do?
So thank you for having us. Good afternoon, everyone. I feel like that's a question that is, we all know the answer. I don't think it's a debatable question. I don't see barriers. We don't see barriers. There are no barriers to the kinds of things that women and men can do. It's 2019. I don't think I think the real question is, in order to match the gap, to bridge the gap so that men and women can equip themselves to do the same things, what do we need to do? So that the first question is, it's a sort of, yes, of course, no, of course there are no differences. We know that reality is showing up that women and men don't do the same things. We need to press into why and how can we equip both sides.
Great. So in terms of, so now we see that, I mean, one of the points that we raised was technology is a driving force now. We see the use of technology is driving innovation, will be driving innovation going forward. So just generally, I would like to ask, I mean, what impacts have you seen on women in terms of the use of technology in the different sectors? What impact have you seen on women, and what do you think, you know, this would mean going forward for
Sure.
women, especially in the workforce? And it is not just to you. I mean, we're opening it up, so.
I'll just chime in quickly. One of the things that we see is the impact on education on young girls and young boys. Depending on where you are in this country, we're seeing that in northern Nigeria, girls drop out of school in larger rates than boys do. So when we're thinking of educating a new sector or using new tools like technology, education matters. So the question then is, how do we bridge the gap? What are the needs for young girls and women to bridge the gap to uptake technology? Once women do take up technology, there's no difference between technology in a man's hand and a woman's hand. But the question is there access to actually taking this up?
Great. Ola, would you like to chime in?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I think the question around women equipping themselves is always very, very interesting, because actually at the primary school level, globally, girls outperform boys. In secondary school, girls outperform boys. In university, girls outperform boys. And for the first few years of the workplace, women outperform men. So I don't think it's a competence issue. I don't actually think it's an issue of women needing to upskill or take courses or be smarter. But I think that that's the narrative that we're fed. I think when I was starting my business, I was also fed that narrative. And I grew my business, started in 2011, and I've grown it from startup capital that I bought from my salary to a multi-million-dollar enterprise. And I realized that the skills of medicine and aviation only got me so far. And then I needed to make friends and influence people. I needed to go to meetings, I needed to go to events, and my EQ started counting more than my IQ. And I think that that's the same in any management position. You get to a certain stage in work where your skills of influence, your skills of persuasion, your connections start to count, and that's when women start to fail. And that's not necessarily an issue, it's technical competence. It's simply an issue of being out of the house. When I look at my 4 friends who I graduated, best friends that we thought were all going to take over the world when we left university, none of them are in full-time work anymore. Whereas my husband, one is the head of KPMG, one is in the Senate, one is top in NNPC, the other one, so if he needs something, if his name needs to be mentioned in a room, then it's not my housewife friends that are going to mention my name in the room. It's going to be my husband's friends, because they've all progressed within the workplace. So I think that women have a disadvantage in terms of even our social circles when we rise beyond the early stages of our careers. And I think that that's something that we really need to tackle.
Yeah, just before we move away from like that subject of technology, so I work for Microsoft, and to buttress Sarah's point, brilliance, talent, technology talent is evenly distributed. It's opportunities that is not. So whether it's men or women trying to make a hiring decision, when a woman comes into the room and it's a software engineering role for many tech companies, they go like, We're actually talking about engineering, not like software sales, not like, and all of that old stereotype has to be consciously managed and changed because just as you said, if you're coding in a programming language, we can't tell if it's a man who wrote it or a woman, So, and what we are seeing now is that if we don't get very conscious about it, as we move from traditional computing to artificial intelligence, where we need to build nuances of our humanity into machines, we will widen the gender gap more. Because when men program and they try to build an AI, they're going to build all of that bias into whatever it is that they are building. So the gap will continue to widen if we don't recognize that it is the best time to challenge ourselves as men or as women, remind ourselves that whether it's a man or woman, our intellect, our humanity, what is wired in the neurons of our brains can produce and can change the world.
So I just also like to pick up on what has been said. I think as we start formal education in primary school, there's a parity, and the girl child is a bit ahead. In secondary school, when it comes to choosing subjects, for some reason, society then buckets the women into humanities and the arts and promotes science more for men. And I think that's where we then begin to discourage our girl children from that interest in technology. You talked about influence. I think sometimes as well, we ourselves are the problem. Even where women are able to influence and pull ourselves, we don't make that connect. We're still afraid of our success. I think it's high time that women celebrate their success and are able to pull people. Don't be afraid to say, I know somebody who can help you in aviation. I know somebody who can help you in technology. And that's the only way, because men have been doing it for a very long time.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra, lady mechanic, and I know everybody in this room has one vehicle, 2 or 10, because Nigeria would like to buy a lot of machines. I'm a woman, and I'm sitting right here to talk to you about what we have been doing as women mechanics. They are talking about technology. Of course, that have moved a whole lot into the automotive industry. And it is helping a lot of women find it easy to work with. Gone are the days when they say a man can carry one engine. But it's never like that. Sandra sitting here as, breakdown norm, telling women, you know what, no man can carry an engine at all. It has various segments. Because when you look from the top cylinder, you go to the crankcase, you go to the sump. So women finding this, they started knowing very well, you know what? So it's like putting the yam inside the pot, cooking and pounding and eating. So for that, they know that it's not really difficult as you can find. The initiative has taken women to technology far. But because of the new technology we find in various machineries, tools we use in the garage, it has made this so easy. Like when you want to lose the wheel nut of a car, you have, of course, the power tool to do that. It makes it easy. You have the diagnostic machine to check the vehicle, no matter how troubleshooting it has been. You have that to also check, and it makes it so easy. So now, in the automotive industry, we are really, getting so close to the men. So close to the men. And I will tell you, in Nigeria today, we have over 1,000 female mechanics in 7 states. And we have taken the initiative also into the public secondary school to create Lady Mechanic After School Club. Because according to the World Bank analysis, that women tend to run away from, engineering. So we said to ourselves, why don't we take this into school and start catching them young, changing their mindset, especially from where I come from like Edo State, Delta State, and all that. Changing their mindset is not only, you can't find greener pasture abroad if you don't have what you're doing. So why don't you in school, after school, you go into the classroom and learn something from the workshop we have created inside public secondary school, be it generator repair, be it the auto mechanic, just the routine maintenance. And these guys started doing this, and they are coming out beautifully well with it. They can service the generator and do little things in their home, service their parents' generator. Now they've extended to their neighbor and getting money from it. It means that when they close from school, holiday, they have a workshop that we have fixed them to go to. So I think we are doing a whole lot in the automotive industry, but we still have our constraint. Our constraint, that will be discussed later. But the initiative, auto mechanic, automotive industry, technology is the powerhouse. Thank you.
Whoop, whoop. Thanks so much. That was such a powerful speech. I think. So I'm hearing that we need to focus on mobilizing children even from school, because there is a dropout rate, and there's also a fear that females have in taking sciences. There's also a bias that people have, or maybe parents or teachers have, towards women, children, female children going towards the sciences. So I guess there is on that level, but then there is a second level I'm looking at, which is at the workplace, because already from what we've seen, there is a huge pool in terms of a huge need for more women working in the tech space. And so my question is, how do we start to bridge those gaps in the workplace going forward?
I think part of what we need to do is the advocacy part of it, the advocacy. Going into rural area, talking to women that, bringing them and telling them that you can do more than you are doing now. Like what we started doing, going to the motor park, finding women selling oranges for longer hours, for maybe 8 to 7 hours. And we come to you that, you know what, you can do better with your life, because what you're doing now, you are just doing selling and buying. But if you come into what we know how to do, what we can give to you, you have a better future, a voice and a future. So I think what we should do more is, go to this rural area, and we need a lot of advocacy to talk to a lot of people through any means, when that jingle, neighbor to neighbor doors and all that. That is what we've been able to do. Like we going to the northern Nigeria in Kano City. We were in Kano State to start talking, because everybody knows that in the northern Nigeria, you think women cannot do anything. No, they are just waiting for somebody that has been able to break the glass ceiling, like Madam mentioned before, to come to them and say, you know what, you can do better than what you're doing now. Why don't you come out and do this? So we took the initiative into Kano City about 3 years ago and started a pilot project for MacArthur Foundation. What did we do? It was the female mechanic drivers. Because we have to see, okay, can they just go into the workshop full time? No. So I said, okay, what we need to do, women drive cars, and I know they can drive. So why don't you take them through the routine maintenance for about 3 months? They know how to service a car, fix the brake pad and all this. Then go into defensive driving for another 3 months. This was a successful one. We're looking for 50. We got over 100 women with their jar coming out to come and learn this. At the end of the day, I'll tell you now, a lot of them have a cab taking clients from, the airport into the town. They have their hotline. What does that mean? It means that Sarah can decide to paint her car hot red and put a hot number there. People calling from Lagos, I'm coming to Kano with the next flight, then pick me up. That is just it. So women, we can do a whole lot. We are strong, but we need people to support us more. But I don't want women to feel that, we are the vulnerable. We have to, we have to sit back and wait for greener pasture to come. Do something, dare it, because there's nothing that is not possible. You can do it.
Thank you so much. And at this point, I'll call Olushola. Would you like to chime in, especially since you work with Microsoft?
Absolutely. I mean, right now at this same time in my office, there is an International Women's Day event right now. 2017 was the year when we launched a campaign in Nigeria called Make What's Next, we started asking girls if they knew any female inventor. There are actually females who contributed massively to putting the first man on the moon. The first set of programmers were females. It was a concept of putting the women in the back room. Get them to just sit with a bunch of codes and enter it in. But essentially, they were still the same people who wrote the lines of codes that powered the first set of space engines. So we started asking girls, do you even know any female inventors? And we started challenging them to make what's next. So the men can say, oh yes, they built the pyramids of Egypt, but what can you make that is the next thing? And we started challenging them through pockets of initiatives here and there. What I see that is most challenging for me is that despite the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we invest in either non-profits or driving this kind of initiatives, we're only creating pockets of examples. These examples can show us that, okay, we've trained 500 women, 150 out of them have done this, but there is 20 million other women. So I started questioning the fact that if we can't contribute to systemic change on a very significant level, and we did talk about policy earlier, so hopefully some who are stronger on these policy conversations can take the tiny bits of examples that we as private sector companies have taken the bull by the horn to create, the kind of examples like that of Lady Mechanic, and take this empirical truths of how women are indeed phenomenal, then scale it up through policy conversations and potentially be able to create whether legislation or critical instructions for private sector entities that would ensure that we can take this impact to the next level. And it won't just be year upon year, trying out pockets of initiatives that can only help 200 people, which is great, but also something that can significantly put women where they should be.
Can I think that I'll come in here because I think you mentioned something really important. When we first started our CSR program at Flying Doctors, obviously from the profits that we made, I decided to start at home. So I started in my state, Ekiti, giving out scholarships to young women who wanted to study medicine, nursing, any healthcare related profession. We started contributing to graduate women's programs that trained graduate women. But like you said, we were creating very small pockets of excellence. And I realized that in order to have that systemic nationwide change, in order to affect 25 million women, in order to affect 30 million women, I think the key actually lies in what MASN said earlier. We need more female leaders. We need more females that can open doors for other women. And I think that this is so important because there's this narrative around women not helping other women. But actually, I think that that's a bit false. I don't think men have helped us at all. If we're only 10% on every board, then where have they helped us to? If there are only 7 female senators in Nigeria, then how far have they helped us? I know lots of women that I supported across the country with their campaigns in this election. They didn't even get their party ticket. So where are they helping us to? They're not helping us anywhere. When it comes to the senior leadership positions, the decision makers, the power brokers, the Senate seats, the VP, the ministerial positions, the board positions, they have not helped us to any level. So I think that when we have female leaders, then we have a greater chance of those doors being open to us. But we should not neglect the role of male champions. I'm not saying that there are no male champions, but if there were plenty, we'd have seen ourselves in Senate by now.
I have to add on to that last point. One of the things that we found out, as I sit around the room, I think about Egypt and I think about Nigeria. Let's come home. We're sitting with fathers and mothers around the table here, around the room. There's a responsibility that you have because it's the narrative that you hear at home and how you treat your female and male sons that determine what happens outside, or the fact that the father is in a workplace. So where is our responsibility as individuals? Do we really believe in equality of both genders? And if we do, we have customs in Nigeria that a woman's place in the kitchen. You hear these things. It's not perpetrated by anyone but people sitting in this room. We're part of that collective. So if we really want to change things, there's a change internally we have to make around our young children coming up, around office, how to be professional women and men, around what you allow the man to be exposed to because he's the man of the house, he's the boy, and the woman, the girls, okay, you can just sit around the corner. That starts from us. So if we really want to change things, we all have to shift our minds. I'm sitting here because my father and mother believe that I can do whatever I wanted to do. Many of us are sitting here because both parents believe that. So what are you believing about your children? What are you believing about the next generation? And how are you communicating that to them? That trickles all the way up to the glass ceiling.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I would like to say here too that how many women in the room are really ready to wake up? Because a lot of us like the comfort zone. When you love your comfort zone, you hardly move. I see those kind of women still sleeping. They need to really wake up, and that is the truth. Because we need to take the bull by the horn. Men, what they do, the kind of things they do. If we want to do those things, we make money like the men. If we want to do those things they do, I always say to people that the dirty hands is the dollar that you are looking for anywhere. When you are able to do that, of course, you make money. Like one of our colleagues here mentioned that men have not been helping women. I think when women are helping themselves, men will come on board to pick you up and say, you know what, you need to be, scaled up. Why did I say this? Why did I say this? Is because about 2 years ago, my state government, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, Mr. Governor, came into power, and they had a lot of dead vehicles. When I said dead vehicles, no moving, no engine, no gearbox. And he said to me, Lady Mechanic, you are from this state, we need your services. When I got to where they park these cars, if you don't have a heart, you will run. Because you are seeing these cars, no wheel, nothing. But because I know the technology behind what I have seen, I know what to put there and make it work. I took the job. I've been working for him. So far, we've refurbished over 200 vehicles in Edo State for the government. He said, you know what, I'm not buying cars. You do this. They came out brand new. We started pimping cars. What is the secret behind technology when you find vehicles on the road? The 2012 model Range Rover is not different. Inside the engine is not different from what you see. It's just the gadget, the body that is being changed. So women see these cars and they say, wow. Why you say wow? It is very easy. It's very easy. Because when we started pimping these cars, you'll be thinking, oh, government bought new modern vehicles. It is only when you get inside you see that it is only the gearbox and the other things who could not change. But they are brand new. What am I trying to say? When you are ready to wake up as a woman, no matter the profession you have gone to school to read, you will be there. And you walk line in line with men, and they cannot sidetrack you. They cannot push you to a corner when they know you know what you are doing. Whoop, whoop.
So, as the chairman of this conversation, since they haven't called me, I assume I'm the chairman. And before we came in, I shared points to everyone to come and give to you. So they've all said it all. But if I would add something, because before we came in, I was talking about the home, which Sarah had shed a light on, and the responsibility that we all abdicate. And it is very serious, because the child is formed in those years between 0 to about 10. And who is teaching the child? The child learns more from what they see than what they are told. And so, what are you showing the child? Simple example. You buy tractor toys for the boys. You buy guns for the boys. You tell them to do police and thief. You tell them to do fireman. The heavy things. And then you buy dolls for them. There's nothing wrong with dolls. And I'm sure if a Nigerian mother sees a woman give her son doll, she'll start casting and binding. But how about understanding the context? That because for so long we've been built this way and we're trying to change it, then so going forward, mothers, you need to balance it with the girls. You tell the girls to look after the boys. You tell them to look after the home. You tell the boys to go and play. He's not doing anything. You need to change that. Let the girl wash the car today. Let the boy cook today. swap the roles. It is what you put in the boy that is what will determine how we will engage the girls in primary school, in secondary school, in the university, the way he will toast her on the street, and the way he will see her in the boardroom. If you've told a boy for 26 years that the girl belongs in the kitchen, when she wants to climb up, you say, no, nip it in the bud. That girl cannot sit with us. If the father, the men in this room, have created that aura of God around themselves, and your son sees how you treat your wife, he will do the same. He might hate it. Probably if he sees a psychologist, he will deal with it. If he doesn't, he will do the exact same thing. It's an abusive cycle. It never breaks unless you do something to step out. So there is a responsibility on both men and women here. On the other hand, if there are men here who are truly concerned about this issue, then you need to, without being asked, become champions for women. You see what Lady Mechanic Sandra is talking about? It's simply demystification of the boys' club. And that's what men don't want. Because they don't want to be exposed. You know that thing when a man comes and doesn't want to talk to anybody, that is angry, he's not angry about anything. It's a lie. It's part of the mystery of the boys' club. It's just that they should not just see me, just see me as human being, not just see me, no, I'm immortal. It's what we have been taught by our fathers. If you go to Calabar, where my beautiful sister Kedensha is from, women, they feed the men. They go to the farm, they sell, they cook, clean, and the men sit and drink and have a good time. But the woman will still have to then, because the man will not come, what's going on here? So that the mystery is kept. Now, all of you here, you see this thing is more powerful than you know. When you hear the media is no longer television. This is the media. You are the media. There are 1.2 billion people on the continent. Half of them have mobile phones. 353 million are on the internet. In Nigeria, there are at least 90 million SIM cards with internet. What information are you passing about gender equality? What imagery are you putting out? Is your son washing plates? Are you putting it on Facebook? Say, oh, my very good son. He comes home and he cleans the house and he washes plates to show other mothers and other boys it is normal. We need to create normalcy around that mystery. What are you doing with the information about the boardroom? How many women are actually sharing tips on how to get into the boardroom on Twitter like Ola does? On Facebook if you're not on Twitter. On your WhatsApp broadcast. Top broadcasting, don't bath with salt. The sun is out. Broadcast how to get into the boardroom as a young girl.
Thank you so
The
much.
chairman has not finished.
Oh,
Final point. We need to, so Black Panther came out last year. And I and a couple of my friends in something I formed called the Serious Club, we sponsored about 1,500 kids to go and watch Black Panther. Why? We wanted to show them all that the black man can be that he has not yet become. In Black Panther, they were using our herbs to heal. The herbs that we let Oyinbo man eat. Have you seen Paco in London? They call it herbal toothbrush. The film, the women sending men to the moon is hidden figures. These stories are being told. Take children to go and watch it. Adesua, Kate Henshaw, they're doing all kinds of films, exposing and telling these things. If you're in a position where you can get stories about great women to be told for other young girls to learn. Queen Amina of Zaza. Queen Amina, let me tell you women here, she had a harem of men. So the one that men will say they have many wives, Queen Amina had many men. If you talk too much, she will just kill you and go. She like, do you understand? So you are more than you think. But you see, if people don't tell you, you would not know. And what you do not know, knowledge is like light. If you're in this room now and it's dark, if you bring information, we can see, oh, it's possible that we can get up and do. If you don't know it, it will be harder to do it. So for everyone here, take the media more seriously. The media is the most powerful tool in the world. From Trump to Buhari, you can see what the media can do. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much, Chairman. Thank you. So thank you for this very, very engaging conversation. I've been told that we've got just about 8 minutes, 6 minutes. They reduced it. Okay, so we have just 6 minutes. So I have a last question to ask, and then we'll just throw the next 5 minutes open to the audience. I think the major thing is, I've heard that we're talking about demystifying demystifying technology. We've also talked about early education, sensitization for girls to join, to take most of the science courses. And then we've also talked about interventions in the home front. But I think one of the important things that we should, I don't want us to sweep under the table is the point about policy. Because in the private sector, we've said that policy has the potential to create a catalytic effect and give us the momentum that we need. So my question is, going forward, and this is what will define the difference between this year and last year, International Women's Day at the NSE. What are the concrete things, action items that we in the private sector need to take? And what should the NSE, how should the NSE commit itself going forward? As you know, we've signed the WEP, so we're saying we need to take a step further to develop a concrete action item so that next year we will come back to say, hey guys, what have you done with what we have suggested? So I'll leave it open, and hopefully we can do this, round this up in like 2-3 minutes.
A lot of the things that we've spoken about today have been very soft. They've been around the home, they've been around training, they've been around the media. They're very soft, subtle problems that have limited the potential of women for decades. Upbringing, socialization, even the narratives that we tell ourselves. I haven't heard this narrative today, so I'm very, very happy about that. But there's this strong narrative around women always trying to destroy each other, around always trying to take each other down. This is political season. What women have been involved in taking each other out this season? It's all been men plotting against each other. The election is tomorrow. From midnight, they won't wake up. Start plotting against each other, how to drag each other down. They'll start talking about each other, how to finish this one, how to cut off one's head. It's all been men. Men are very, very aggressive when it comes to taking each other down. And women actually, maybe one of the reasons why women haven't even progressed so much in politics is we are actually less aggressive about each other. When it comes to mobilizing, when it comes to really, really plotting against your enemies, I think men are far, far better than that. When it comes to gossip, yes, I think men are stronger in those skills, because that's the skills that you need to really succeed. You need to really target somebody and say, this person cannot win tomorrow. So I think that a lot of those narratives are quite soft, but we need hard solutions to those very soft problems. And that's why I think that one of the things that we can do is look at quotas for women on corporate boards. They've done it in California. It has worked very well in terms of just saying, look, you need to find this number of women for your board. I know that a lot of people are scared of tokenism. A lot of people are scared that it will just be wives of big men that will be on the board. But I prefer a wife of a big man to be on a board than have an all-male board, because I am very sure that a woman will more likely, at least let me give a chance to a woman to open doors for me. Because I can see from the evidence, both on boards, 10%, and both in political, that men are not opening any doors. So let me at least have the wife of a big man on the board and see if that one will open doors for me. We've not experimented with that before, but I've seen the results of the men. You've presented the results of the men, 10%. And we know that this is not a competence issue because there are lots of competent women. This is a social issue. This is an issue of connections. This is an issue of attending those night meetings that you cannot attend because you have 5 kids. This is not an issue of whether you have the qualifications to do it. So I would suggest, as a hard solution to a soft problem, perhaps looking at some of these quotas and seeing how we can creatively apply them without leaving it too vulnerable to tokenism and token women being in those places. Thank you.
Thank you. Camille, yeah, okay. I was going to call you, but...
Okay, so I'd just like to speak before Chairman speaks. So we were talking about scale, and we've spoken about policy, we've spoken about the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I think, this initiative is very good, but it's only once a year that, we celebrate women on this very big scale. How does the Nigerian Stock Exchange come in? I think the Nigerian Stock Exchange is very influential. The Nigerian Stock Exchange itself is a policy mover. The Nigerian Stock Exchange itself can be a game changer. The Nigerian Stock Exchange also has access to organized private sector, and that organized private sector will give us funding. So I honestly think that one of the takeouts from 2019 would be that the first seeds of a policy change began at the stock exchange. I don't know how that will work, but somehow the Nigerian Stock Exchange should carry along women who are already influencers and use them to build some sort of policy and drive that policy. Not policy in the sense of government, because unfortunately when government gets involved in anything in Nigeria, it then gets politicized, it gets tribalized, and it doesn't work. And people will not take notice of that. So I think, I'm going to leave it at the table of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to scale up this conversation and to make this narrative a continuing one, not once a year in March where we celebrate women.
I think, Madam Kemi, I support that move because the Nigerian Stock Exchange have a lot of, will I call it clients? Because I'm not in the stock, I'm on the hands-on. So my own hands-on, I'll be talking about. But because we want a lot of women to come into the auto industry, be it spare parts, be it accessories, you want to sell, be it quick service, that those you see in the gas station, be it body work and baking, be it, the entire mechanic thing. We decided to say, you know what, women come in for free. You have to come and learn for free, and we are paying you a stipend at the end of every month to take care of yourself, maybe the toiletries, so that you don't fall back to your social vices. That is what the Lady Mechanic Initiative is doing. How do we do this? Because that's our retainership. That's how we can pull women from different areas and come in to be able to stay, And we can't do this alone. Everybody here has one business or the other. If we take that girl that is helping us to go and fetch water in our house, or that girl that helps us to go to the market, and say, you know what, you cannot continue to fetch me water. I need to empower you so that you can also give to another. This is what we've been able to do. A lot of our girls, we have over 10 girls with coach charities. As we graduate, we empower and graduate them. We don't have girls standing or using certificates to look for job. We are talking about creating job opportunity. What you have to do, what you have studied, you don't have to start going around to look for this job. So we have girls all over car companies, and we don't even have enough to give out. What am I trying to say? We have the UN Women, we have the IFC, I've met her before, and we can say in our own constituency, how many girls can we empower, even if it's not the answer. But I'll tell you, the auto industry, the vehicles is a necessity. We all need a car, and we need somebody to fix it. And I'm saying it here right clear today, that in another 5 years, you will respect the mechanic more than the doctors. Why? Because nobody is learning anymore. And this is what I continue to say every time when I go for forum like this. Women are not the one learning how to fix cars. We don't have a lot of men anywhere they're coming in to fix. They're all on the fast lane. But what are we doing about this? The lady mechanic is ready. Whether it is palm stock brokers, whether it's Sandy stock firm, we are ready to work with you, to partner with anybody that wants to come on board with us for us to be able to help you, empower, train some women under your own company's name as your CSR. We're always ready. 2 is not small, 2 is big. 1 is not small, 1 is big. It's for you to be able to have the necessity things she needs. At the end of the day, you have that on your CSRO. I was able to empower 5 girls. And now where are they? They have their workshop imparting to other life. Because when you empower one woman, you have done a whole lot of community. So we need to.
So for me to be For me to the NSE, thank you, Kudi.
Wait.
For me to the
Wait. Okay.
for me to the NSE will be simple. You know, I would say that what more incentives can the NSE put forward to organizations to force them? You know, people want to join you as a prerequisite for their renewals. You know, what more can you do to force them with the quota? Because yes, tokenism, but in this beginning phase, we need to enforce. You know, so what more can you do? I would say that you can even go to the extent of going to the public court and making it, you know, something in the media to tell the media, oh, we've told organizations to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't worry, you can come to me.
Do more than them. Do more than what they know how to do. And they will give you that respect.
Thank
But don't run away from challenges. Because challenges will ever remain there. Even if you are selling granite or whatever you do, it is there. But keep on moving. Keep on just moving. When you fail, get up. You try again. You will get there. Okay? That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I have been told that we don't have time for any question. We had one. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have 5 minutes for two. Hopefully, we can squeeze 2 minutes each.
Okay, we'll try and take probably just one question or two, but very brief. One question only.
It's very, very important to qualify the woman, a good woman, not just because she's a woman, you support her, because we've had women who have had chances and they blew it. Yeah, a critical example for me is, I don't know if anyone noticed it, in Lagos State, it's now 2 men. Governor and deputy. We had women, but I don't know what they've done. Now, these men who do so well, they will not put a woman again. We'll see her maybe only in the ministry. So it's important to support good women who will keep the ladder open for all others. Thank you.
So I just want to quickly, so sorry. So, sis, it's quite tricky. It's quite tricky. And it's tricky because, for example, I don't think the Lagos State one, they removed her because they had those 2 men. One of them must get the ticket. It was politics. It wasn't about the gender. The challenge is that sometimes we just even need women for the visibility. Because men are being bad every day and they keep rewarding us with more positions and more positions. So I totally understand what she's saying. And I wish that we can try to, yes, I think that we can try to put pressure, like what she said, that when you get in as a woman, please know that other women are counting on you as a bridge. But we need women there because men are being bad every day and they are rewarding us with more opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you. We have just the last question or comment from the... Okay.
Can we have the microphone, please?
The microphone, please. And the last question, and we call it a day for the session.
We talked about ladies on the board, and this ladies on the board comes up wherever I am. I happen to be on a few boards, and we want to throw it back to you from the NSE. You need to list your companies. You really need to list your companies. When companies are listed, there are particular regulations that guide the choice of board directors. So the days of choosing somebody's wife or somebody's mother would be over. If your company is listed, the NSE would oversee it, and then your board directors have to be approved. If you even have a PLC, the directors have to sit for an exam. So this is just a short thing, just to bring it together, for us not just to be talking a few solutions, that from the NSE, if you encourage listing of companies, that would go a long way to getting good board directors amongst young people and people that can actually do the job. Thank you very much.
2 days ago, I found a woman. The woman who returned 12 million naira found at the airport. Apparently, this woman had returned 7 million, 8 million, and another probably 9 million. A woman, 4 times. I'm not sure I've heard a man who's done that kind of thing in Nigeria. I did a fundraising for her on social media. We raised her 1.4 million as a gift. And I had said that she would be my date but she couldn't make it. So I just want to celebrate women, that this is a woman as a symbol of all of you, your honesty and your integrity. So I thank all of you women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Please put your hands together for our panelists.
International Women's Day is an important day because it's letting the world stop to signal that we're not equal yet. Women are still disproportionately disadvantaged when it comes to healthcare, education, corporate environment. So we need a day where we can all agree to that and decide what the solutions are to make that change.
Today marks a call for action to accelerate gender parity by taking groundbreaking actions that truly drive the greatest change for women.
More organizations need to create quotas and ensure that women are at the table. Women are in those high sensitive areas. Women who have also shown capacity that they can